creature.
Tickle. From the front line, bitch.
Gamers, it is I, Mike the Birdman Dodd, and it's entirely too goddamn early as we celebrate this Friday the 13th, though we are not talking about Jason Voorhees and Camp Blood. We're actually talking about video games today. This is an episode of The Prototype, sort of our first year-end special, so to speak. So kind of a breakdown of what's happened in the world of video games this past week, because it's been a big one. We have Sony's State of Play, we have Nintendo's Indie World, and finally the 2019 VGAs from LA. But I'm not alone as I discuss this cavalcade of digital goodness. I'm joined with
a surprisingly awake Alex.
Yes, I decided to spend most of my night on Reddit. My God, that's a dangerous thing to do. I wasn't even looking at porn. I was just answering questions on Ask Reddit. It's weird how you can get sucked down that hole and you're just like, it's 4:30 in the morning. Maybe I should go to bed. We're up to record the show.
I looked at the clock and I went, it's 6 in the morning. Why am I not asleep? And I realized basically when I watch or if we're up late doing something, I will purposely get like a diet or caffeine-free drinks that won't stimulate you. And I apparently drank a liter of the not caffeine-free drinks I had and didn't realize it. So I'm like, why is my brain still working? And then I had, a couple hours of sleep, and then I'm ready to go.
Yeah, today's going to be a long day. I have a long day of holiday baking with my wife. I got some friends coming over. And, of course, we're here for you, the Twig listeners, as we kind of break things down to what happened in the digital realm this week. We're going to start things off very, very quickly with the two smaller shows this week, which were Sony's State of Play and Nintendo's Indie World. And very quickly, Sony's State of Play was okay. Nothing mind-blowing except for the Resident Evil 3 reveal, which was leaked by North American Box Art earlier this week anyway. We kind of knew it was coming. There have been rumors circulating for months. Though seeing the first trailer, it was a little misleading. We're thinking, oh, don't you dare be a fucking VR game. But no, thankfully it's not.
It started, and we didn't live tweet really much, but we were talking back and forth, and I said, dude, why does this looks terrible? Like, how is this possible? Oh, it's 2 games. And I'm like, oh, so this is how it's working. You get the first crappy game when you buy the actual good game. I say crappy, but like it looked like an early PS3 title, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Resistance or whatever they're calling it?
Project Resistance, I think, looks kind of cool.
But I looked. It's like it's a mixture of like
it's basically the updated version of the Raccoon City Files or Resident Evil Outbreak. That's essentially what it is.
I thought I saw it and I went, this is like one of those Dead by Daylight or something. Like they were trying to do like a knockoff of something else.
I was going to say, you don't do multiplayer stuff. So.
I don't do a ton of multiplayer, but I wasn't a fan of it. The graphics looked janky, very I don't know VR-y.
I don't know what screenshots you were looking at, because everything I've seen that's come out of Project Resistance looks neat, because it's essentially just the Resident Evil 2 engine with multiplayer slapped into it, which is okay.
It for whatever reason it looked poor quality until there was a massive jump in quality, and then that's when they started showing that it was Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, so that was the big reveal to come out of Sony's State of Play. They saved that till the end, thankfully. Everything else was just kind of there's one from Media Molecule, which is the same developer behind Little Big Planet. They have something called Dreams where you can build your own games. I am not one of these creative people. It uses a sandbox tool set to build something. I've never played Minecraft, though I have it because Blair built a lesson plan out of it at one point. I've
never liked it. My brother and his wife, when they were dating, they would have like Minecraft dates where they built like an entire house for themselves, and like I was like, but you're built what? And he's like, don't question it, dude. He goes, if it gets us to play games together, it's all good.
I guess, yeah. I mean,
yeah. So like, I get it, but
it's a neat tool set. It's a neat idea. It's not for me, but whatever. That's fine. And everything else, I can't. Oh, there was like a brief. I think there was a trailer for Ghost of Tsushima, but it was only the first half.
It was a very small tease, and they said, "Stay tuned at the end of the week for the Game Awards."
Yeah. So okay, fine. So they show us the first like minute of the trailer we saw at the VGAs. Other than that, anything else that was shown there is so forgettable as to not be mentionable.
That's the thing. If we have to go, and it's only been a couple days, like I was thinking, do I go look up what was shown there? No, because I should be able to remember it for a 20-minute show. The fact that it's a 20-minute show, and all we could remember was Resident Evil, and then like interspersed with a couple things. Dreams looks interesting, but the problem is, not only do you have to be very creative to use it, I almost feel like it's strange. I feel like it's a game studio saying, hey, we're too lazy to make an actual game. Guess what? We're going to sell you the tools, and then basically all the owners, like when you buy the game, you're now making them free games.
See, I don't think I agree with your assertion of lazy. Because it takes a lot of moving parts to make sure every other part works with everything else.
Oh, that's true.
I'd rather have a true creative vision for a game like Little Big Planet gives you the tools, but you're always given Sackboy, and you can build whatever game you want out of that. I've seen people create Street Fighter out of Little Big Planet. You know
what I think it is? I not that I misspoke, but like I see it not as lazy. I see it more as it's a way.
Sandbox games are not for us.
It's not just the sandbox game. This is not even a sandbox game. It's basically a scripting language for your own. It's like it's more RPG Maker-ish, I guess, like that old tool. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, not only do you have to be very creative, there's people that are going to put crazy amounts of effort into making games, which will be very admittedly interesting to see, and it would be cool to try out some of the creations. But the people are putting in so much effort, and they're never going to be paid for their work. Like there are people like some of those games that they're showing, or the ideas behind the games when they showed the trailer. I'm like, cool. So the couple people that made that, they're going to make $0 off of like 3,000 hours of work making these games in that engine. So it would be really cool if in the game they had a thing where you can share the game, or share your creations and all that. And if very specifically, it could be used by Sony as a way of recruiting people to make actual games for them.
Don't be surprised if there's something in the user agreement where there is a provision.
Because if it was a way for somebody who was very indie, who maybe was skilled but didn't have the traditional background to get in, it would be really cool if that was viewed as literally like, oh, by the way, this is your resume now. You can actually use this as some sort of, resume for creative design.
Well, don't be surprised, especially in the era of Reddit, if someone makes a really popular game level and it goes viral. Don't be surprised if Media Molecule gives these guys a call.
Okay, that's true. And I think, I'm going to go as optimistic as I can, because I think we'll probably be able to check it out. I was just worried when I saw it, where I was like, oh, is this going to have no narrative or anything with it? Whereas, like you said, with Little Big Planet, there was a campaign for each game. This seems so wildly out there. I don't think there's going to be any campaign. There might be a few sample games or sample levels, but it would be interesting if there was like some sort of narrative to follow, or something for people that might need a little more guidance, or might not have the ability to make the games themselves.
Yeah. Moving on, I can't think of anything else from Sony that wowed me. Like nothing comes to mind.
There wasn't
And that's
anything that was
disappointing.
like a world exclusive or a surprise. I think we would have been higher on the short state of play had the Resident Evil stuff not leaked 3 days earlier.
Yeah, and yeah, like if not for that leak, maybe Sony would have went, hey, but it did. I just wish the stuff stuck in memory for the right reasons. Now, to talk about Nintendo's indie world, didn't know this was happening until I was on YouTube at 9 in the morning. I just happened to be awake. I was looking through my subscription box and it said live now. I'm thinking, all right, cool. And I just happened to walk in as the thing started. A lot of neat looking stuff, though. The only one I remember, I don't even remember what it's called, but I remember the concept for it, is you're a game developer and you can smash two genres together.
Super Mash. I just pulled up the list. This has already been out on the Epic Game Store for a week or two. I believe that's what I was reading. But it's the first time it's hitting console, and it's going to be the the one on the Epic Game Store. I believe is like early access. So this is going to be like the completed version.
Okay, so that's about the really cool one that I saw, and that was something I'd probably check out, actually.
Yeah, for anybody who didn't see the trailer for it, you turn on the game, or in the game world, it's a boy and a girl find a game console. They turn it on, and every time they turn it on, it's a mashup of two different genres. So you can spin the wheel, or you can enter individual codes. Like the creator of it put up on the screen a code you could enter, just like not the Konami code, but like an old password or whatever, and that would give you a specific world that he liked, and it can be like racing and pick any genre of gaming you can imagine, and two of them you put them together, and in any combination you want in any order. So like one that is racing RPG will be different than one that is RPG racing, and it'll give you a different experience each time. So basically you're getting, I don't know, like 300 or 400 different styles of games. So it however they've done their scripting engine to make it dramatically changes things on the fly, which will be pretty cool, and something that's right up like Nintendo's quirky alley. Now the other one that came out of there that I think is probably going to take Reddit and the internet by storm meme wise was Skatebird.
That's something I'm actually pretty into, and I'm surprised how far off it is too.
Well, and it's basically Tony Hawk Pro Skater with little tiny
birds.
bird. Yeah, and
you
literally
can unlock pieces, and you can unlock pieces of clothing. Hopefully, you can get new decks. I'm hoping a skate company like Element, or hell, the smart thing to do would be to get Tony Hawk's Birdhouse brand involved in this. Hell, Tony Hawk better have some peripheral involvement in this somehow, but he probably has some licensing agreement somewhere
what
that he can't.
they should do is have Tony Hawk the Chicken Hawk in it,
or something like that. Like, yeah, like there needs to be some Tony Hawk reference in there. I mean, there has to be. But yeah, like there has to be some kind of real world crossover with that, because Skatebirds looks fun. I'm totally down for that.
Not only that, the physics, like when they showed it, it doesn't look janky. You remember, what was that other skateboarding game that they're trying to advertise like last, was it E3 they were showing it off? And it looked like a really janky version of Skate. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, what the hell is this?
This one, when the bird is doing all the tricks and stuff, you can see it looks and feels like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. So I was like, okay, perfect. Other things that they showed off here was Boyfriend Dungeon, which is a dungeon crawling dating sim, but where you're a heroine who can date her sword.
Yeah, so that looks pretty neat.
Sure,
I saw some people talking about that on Twitter.
I mean, like it's so out there. I'm like, maybe we should check it out. There was it Murder by Numbers, which is a crossover between a visual novel and Picross, the puzzle game. There was Oddworld's Stranger's Wrath. Wasn't that a Xbox original Xbox title? Yeah, getting released. There was Gleamlight, which is the development studio that did Bloodstained. They're doing a side-scrolling action game with stained glass-looking. You play as a sword in it, which is kind of interesting. The other stuff. What else was there? The big ones. There was a Survivalist, which is a pixel art survival game from the Team 17. The ones that they've done a bunch of different things, but the two bigger ones of the show were the Axiom Verge announcement too for Axiom Verge 2 at the end of the show, which was a really big title. It was one of the bigger titles on the Vita, actually. Pixel art Metroidvania type game. And Sports Story, which is the sequel to Golf Story, the RPG, which was announced, and it's a exclusive. It's not going to any other platform.
Yeah, I don't remember half these titles, but I'm not a Nintendo Switch guy, whereas you clearly are.
It was. I made notes for it. It was a solid indie, like for something that could easily have been a really weak showing, because indie titles really are hit or miss. This was a better showcase than the State of Play, and this had no hype.
Yeah, like I said, this just dropped, and I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. I'm really sick, I just noticed. Moving on to our next thing, and the big Jones of this whole thing, is the 2000... I just realized how stuffed up I sound. Holy shit.
It is the time of year. It is flu season. Alex got his flu shot, and the nurse gave it to me in my shoulder, and I'm like, how come it goes in the shoulder? And she goes, it goes in your meats. And I went, okay. And then I couldn't lift my arm for like an hour after I got home. I was like, why? Oh, it's been forever since I had a flu shot. So I was walking around with that arm, basically.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if I can even do tomorrow. Plus, my voice is starting to go, if you can't tell. So,
well, you know what? We'll do we're doing the prototype. Damn it, because we have to.
We have to. Exactly. I mean, it's the Game Awards. So, to talk about the Game Awards, better than last year's, although I will say this, and it's way too long, 3.5 hours. I mean, I get it. The industry deserves to be recognized. I get it. The show has to be paid for. I get it that we're going to have world announcements and premieres and trailers and advertisements and skits. But 3.5 hours is a lot to add. And a fucking pre-show.
It was only 3.5 hours because they announced the times weird. The original thing that they said was that it was going to start at 8, the pre-show. Well, the pre-show didn't start. It actually ended up being a little less than 3 hours, because the pre-show didn't start till 8:40ish, and then the show ended just before 11:30.
Yeah, it was very long. Regardless, I mean, if you could have trimmed about a half hour somewhere, I would have been happy. However, though, that being said, it did have a really good flow. There never was a point where I was truly bored.
Well, there were points where the cringe level almost made me melt into the floor. Anything with
it wasn't as bad as that Schick Hydro bot.
Yes, anything that had Apex Legends, anything that had Epic Games or Fortnite was horribly unplanned, horribly cringy. The dude that was out there for the Star Wars thing messed up so bad. The timing was so off. He was in the middle of talking and the trailer started playing. They're doing some sort of, what was it, Fortnite Star Wars crossover this weekend? Yeah,
there's some kind of big viewing event tomorrow at 2:00 Eastern, and you get the TIE Whisper, which is Kylo Ren's new ship, in game for free. It's your new in-game glider, so that's pretty cool. You can buy Stormtrooper skins right now. I think you get Rey, Finn, and a Sith Trooper if you show up this weekend. So that's pretty cool to get player engagement up, because Fortnite is going through some changes now since Season 2 started back in October. So, yeah, I mean, the only Apex Legends thing I liked was the skit between Jeff and the character.
Actually, that was very well timed, actually.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I didn't like, and it wasn't until Angry Joe mentioned it that I noticed it, is essentially Apex Legends got like an 8-minute commercial, and then they win the award they're up for. I'm not saying anything because I don't have any proof. That's just a little weird.
You know what? It's here's the thing. We can speculate all we want. I can speculate and put, in quotes that I would guess they got paid over $1 million or more. The show felt like Apex Legends. It felt like Apex Legends, Epic Games, and Samsung paid for the entire show.
And Subway, because they sponsored the fresh indie developer.
Yeah. So, but seriously, it was like every 10 minutes there was a Samsung commercial.
Although the ads were less intrusive this year than they have been previous years. I felt the advertising flow was very well done. It wasn't overly in your face.
They didn't do any pop-ups on the screen during the show. They were smart.
Except for the only one that popped up was the indie developer, and it was there for 5 seconds and then gone.
Yeah, but they didn't do the traditional thing that a lot of shows have done or even award shows have done the last 5-6 years, which is they'll be in the middle of presenting something or accepting an award, and that 20% of the screen gets taken up with an ad. They didn't do any of that. They were smart so that it made it so that they could cut the show up into little pieces and then release it on YouTube later on for those that don't want to watch the whole thing, which is pretty smart. And then they can get their ad revenue some other way. Getting into the other announcements, like
the Xbox Series X was the big one of the entire night.
It's the big one, but as I said pretty much when it happened, they are going to have a naming branding crisis over this.
It'll be like the Wii and Wii U again.
It looks... before we even talk about the look of it, here's the issue. They're calling it the Xbox Series X. We already have an Xbox One X. So we have the original Xbox, OG Xbox. Xbox 2 ended up being called Xbox 360, which made some confusion. Then the Xbox 3 was called the Xbox One. And then the Xbox One had a revision called the Xbox One X. And then we're going to have Xbox Series X. Oh, that's going to be a major problem for grandma trying to buy something.
Yeah.
That being said, naming conventions aside, people are saying, "Oh God, it's a PC case." No. If you look at it, it's perfectly square, like at the top. Like it looks more like a squared off version of the Mac Pro. Remember the trash can Mac? Or almost like our like your modem or router looks, like the thick ass square ones. So they did confirm after they showed it on their actual press release, it can be put in any orientation, flat or standing up. But standing up is the traditional preferred version, probably because it's a giant cylinder on the inside with heating,
It's basically a PC.
Yeah. It's basically a PC, but with the trash can design where it's going to suck air through the bottom and shoot the hot air through the top.
I mean, someone was talking about this a little while ago and said it's basically a Steam box. If you're going to be a PC, be a PC. But okay, whatever. I'm down with it. They
haven't shown it very purposefully. They have not shown the back of it for the I/O ports. I'm willing to bet. They haven't said it, but I'm willing to bet that there is user upgradability here. When it comes to, I don't know, like they said they're going to have the SSD in there, the big one. I would not be surprised because they've always had, until they came up with the Xbox One, you had replaceable hard drives. Remember on the 360. Don't be surprised if, even though it's going to be some sort of proprietary PCI Express or something, special hard drive space or solid state. They're going to make modules, and they're going to probably be expensive, but you'll probably be able to just swap it in the back. They might have an extra port to add a second drive, or to replace the current one that's in there, and it will just be a proprietary drive. That'll be expensive, but I would not be surprised if they do that, because they got to know if they're going to have this system out for 5 to 7 years, because they said they wanted to lower the release cycle from 7 to 10 years down to 5 to 7 years, which makes more sense with how fast technology changes. That in 5 years' time, the cost of the storage is going to be so much less that if this thing comes with, I'm willing to bet, if this is supposed to be as high end as they're saying, it's going to come with 1 to 2 terabytes of this special storage.
My guess is 2.
If this is the high end Premier Edition, yeah. And then what they'll do is say, 3 or 4 years down the line, the system's still going to be viable. They're going to go, okay, we can sell you a $200 module that gives you 4 or 5 terabytes. That's what they'll do. They're not going to want. I guarantee you, they won't let you use external drives like they do in the current system to store it because it'll be too slow. They're talking about how every game is going to be optimized for solid state storage. Well, that would mean not only that, it would mean that they're counting on having solid state storage. So the games might not even run properly if they tried to run it off of USB. So that would be one of the reasons to make it the design that it is. I do like that they very prominently show that it has the optical drive in the front. So we're probably getting the same drive that's currently in the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S that has the 4K UHD and everything. They're probably saving as much money as they can with this because they did say that the controller is not only, like the system is not only backwards compatible where you can use your Xbox One controllers with it.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
Yes, you can use your Xbox One controllers with it. You can use the Xbox Series X controllers with the Xbox One. The controller is backwards compatible with the old system. And not only that, you can use the Xbox Series X controller with Windows PCs as well. So the controller works on multi-generation, which is the first time that's ever happened. You can't connect a PS4 controller to a PS3, but you can connect this to the previous generation. They said that the controller is slightly, if you were to put them side by side, they've changed the sizing slightly. They said to allow for more accessibility for certain players. They took, because they have that big push on having they have that special configurable controller for accessibility and everything.
Yeah, that's adaptive controller.
That's their big focus. Apparently they've spaced the buttons out slightly different, as well as the weight of the controller has been reduced. And the layout apparently is more conducive to as many players' hands as possible, they said. And the only other real difference on it is they've replaced the D-pad with the D-pad on the Elite Series 2 controller, and they've added a third button on the front to add a center button that does sharing. So that's all they've been ready to say yet with it, but that was pretty cool. That was a really big surprise, and I'm wondering what Sony is thinking.
Yeah, although we didn't get them to open up pre-orders, they didn't announce anything besides holiday 2020. If I had to guess, the original Xbox launched in November 2001. It'll probably be around the same time thing to coincide with any anniversaries. It just makes sense. It'll be on brand. So
now,
fine.
Because they're saying that this is... Oh, and the last thing they announced was that the system is backwards compatible with Xbox One all the way up. They said thousands of games. So they were hesitant to mention if it's disc-based compatibility, but they did say that it was disc-based compatibility for the Xbox One. So you can pop your Xbox One discs in and it'll just play automatically. So methinks that the operating system is probably almost identical. It's just using new hardware.
Yeah, which I'm totally fine with. I mean, a lot of my games are digitally based, so good that I can download probably 95% of them, and I'll be able to get to my old Xbox 360 library. Plus, with Xbox Game Pass, that opens up a lot more options for them, too. Because they're going to do a big push on that as well. Because if Xbox has done anything right this generation, their backwards compatibility thing is really good. Plus, they work with developers. If a developer wants to make their game available, they'll do it. They'll put the time and money in. And Xbox is like, cool, but they don't ask individual developers. It's up to them to do it.
Don't be surprised if they announce it to be disc compatibility with 360 and the original Xbox. How they would do that, though, is you'd have to have Game Pass. And it would take the game, read the serial number off the game, and then probably download a patch to let you play it emulation style.
Yeah, probably something similar. They also showed off the first Xbox X Series X game in engine. It was Hellblade 2 Sasuna's story or something.
Yeah,
It looked really fucking cool.
Senua's Saga Hellblade 2.
Yeah, that looked really cool. If that's in engine, wow,
It
that
was
looked like a movie.
It says it was in engine, but people speculated after it's not. It was an engine, but not playing live, meaning they didn't just hook up a capture device to an Xbox Series X.
Yeah,
but it was played on the dev kit,
which is pretty cool.
Basically, what you're seeing is about 95% or more accurate to what it'll be like when you play it.
Yeah. I don't know whether I'll get into it because I've never played the original, so I don't know. Whatever.
No, I probably won't. I'm viewing it more as a tech demo. You know how like they always showed off like Rise and all that those sorts of games. It's going to be like that. The big thing with it was not just the dynamic lighting; it clearly had ray tracing on, which it would be a first for home consoles. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't like, oh my god, there's dramatically higher pixel counts or anything. It was the physics engine for how the facial movements were done. It clearly uses an AI based system where you move your lips and then other parts of your face might move and contort, and your hair even moves and stuff. It's taking everything into account in real time. With this, I would say we're one generation away from having things be almost photorealistic.
The uncanny valley approaches, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool. I'm looking forward to that. Sorry, my phone's ringing.
And then we have phone ringing.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
It's early. The other thing was there was a showcase of, was it one or two titles that were PlayStation 5 bound?
There was just one that was officially PlayStation 5, and that was Godfall, which is from, I think, the Borderlands developers, Gearbox, I think. Yeah, and it's being described as like a looter slasher thing, so all right, cool, whatever, I guess. I don't care. If I had to say anything about... Cut it out. Sorry, it's Ayla being stupid. If I had to say anything, there weren't any award or any games that really impressed me outside of one. And that was Ghost of Tsushima. But to go back to that thing, yeah, the PlayStation 5 Godfall, it looked cool, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be one of those early titles that just shows off what the system can do.
Yeah, it's not going to go super duper in depth. It's going to be, again, more tech demo-y. Just if you want me to rapid fire some of the other announcements that were surprising, there was Bravely Default 2 on
that. Yeah, that caught me by surprise because the original Bravely Default was surprisingly good.
And then there was the second. Well, it was Bravely Second, but that was, this might create a little confusion because this is Bravely Default 2, but it's technically the third game.
Yeah.
So but it's using an updated engine version of Octopath Traveler to build it.
That's kind of what I figured, actually.
There was Weird West, which was made by the people that made Prey and Dishonored.
And I think Devolver Digital's...
Yeah, and it has an interesting sort of style. What else was there? There's a Baldur's Gate game.
Oh, yeah, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, which originally came out on the Xbox, and it's supposed to be the return of couch co-op and everything. I just hope it's not another fucking Diablo clone.
Yeah,
because I'm so over it.
Like if we're gonna get another Diablo clone, it may as well be like Torchlight 3 because that was made by the original Diablo team.
See, if anything, if you're gonna give me a licensed D&D game, yeah, there was Sword Coast Adventures on the Xbox One. There was D&D Online, which was a thing. Just give me Skyrim with the D&D setting. That's what I want. I don't know what this is, but I don't want to just grind for better loot. That is so lame. I'm done. People are excited for this, though, as evidenced by my Twitter and Facebook. Okay, sure.
Yeah, and then there was Player Unknown's, like the PUBG creator is making a game called Prologue. It
Okay.
was kind of meh. I didn't really care.
Sons of the Forest looked pretty cool.
Yeah, Sons of the Forest. We'll get to that. We'll try to think. Just sort of going in order in my mind of the notes I had. There was a new trailer for Ori. Says that it has a release date of March 11th. You know, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which looks cool.
Yeah, those games are always cool. They're not my thing, but I do appreciate the art style.
Expansion for Control. I didn't even realize it was getting any expansions.
I was surprised how much Control won this year.
But you didn't play it though. In me playing it, my issues came from some AI technical problems, and some AI balancing issues that seem to only affect the Xbox version. And then I've checked, it's all been patched now apparently. So I should go back and try to finish it. Like the last level that I was still stuck on. It had, when it won art direction and stuff, and we can get into the awards and just after we finish the trailers here, but it had a really good art direction. I can see why it won the things it won, because when you think about, I went back and was thinking about what else came out this year. There were some really good releases, but there wasn't anything super like, there wasn't a Spider-Man. There wasn't anything that was like super high-end, like realms above everything else. Everything that came out this year was great, but had flaws.
Yeah.
They showed off, it was a Gears Tactics.
Which I did find out, Rod Ferguson at the Coalition, which is the studio that develops Gears of War, had said, despite what the trailer looks like, there are no microtransactions in-game, cosmetic or otherwise. Everything you can earn everything you can get in-game is earnable.
Okay, yeah.
So no loot boxes, because I had posted that it looks like it's going to be loot box central, and
it's guaranteed it's going to be one of the ones that's Game Pass. So you don't, if you're on the fence, if you have Game Pass, you can just play it when it comes out. There was Fast and Furious Crossroads, which looks like a game from 10 years ago, but looked fun.
You're on your own there, pal.
But did you see it?
I did, and I'm like, okay. Certain scenes, Vin Diesel looks fun. Other times, why are we seeing Vin Diesel from the original Xbox?
But do you know what it looked like to me? It looked like it had the racing style of like Flat Out or like an old Burnout or Ridge Racer or something from like 10 years ago. They showed a Final Fantasy remake trailer that had a couple new scenes, but nothing out there. Humankind, which was the Sega?
It's
RTS?
kind of like Civilization-ish, but you can develop your own leader. So that looks kind of cool.
Magic Legends, which doesn't show what it's probably a card game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which
I think Carl Weathers was randomly in that trailer.
Probably. Then there was Naraka Blade Point, which was the first game from a big Chinese developer. It looks like hack and slashy ninja action. Then there was the one where you sent me a message saying, "Oh God, I hope this isn't the real title," and then you went, "Oh, fake out." It was 9 to 5, the new shooter from the Max Payne people, and it looked like it was. Although I would have played a game that was rabbits shooting each other with like cartoon rabbits shooting each other with AKs.
Yeah, because it looked like Fortnite, but with furries. I'm thinking, all right.
Do you know what's funny?
I mean, we have Realm Royale. Why not?
Actually, you know what's really funny? It looked almost identical to a fake game that was in an episode of NCIS about a month ago. Where it was a game where they were investigating a murder, and it was at an old age home where senior citizens were playing basically this game where it was furries blowing each other up with glitter guns.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's a thing.
No More Heroes 3 got shown off.
Which is weird because it looked like it was that one game or two games. Because that trailer showed
it's one game.
Okay, because there's this furry creature's like, I'll see you in 20 years.
And he comes back and he's a conquering invader.
Yeah, I'm thinking, all right, that's weird, but okay, sure, why not? Because
it's out there, and
No More Heroes.
They're like that was good. Then they showed off what was it, the Apex Legends Holiday Bash. I don't know. It's not not my game. Like I want to I want to get into it, but I feel like is it too late for me to get into that game?
Look at it this way, dude. Unless you're a competitive player and you're willing to get your ass kicked a lot, no.
Okay.
And Alex, I know you don't like to lose.
It's it's not even just that. It's I like to play for more than 10 seconds. If I'm going to die in like 10 seconds, there's no point in me playing.
Yeah. This one there is a significant learning curve.
Sons of the Forest, like you said,
that looked really cool.
That
looks
creepy.
Really creepy.
Well, it
Alan
looked,
Wake-ish kind of thing.
Yeah, it looked cool, and I'm like, okay, so it's sort of creepy. Oh, what's that lady doing? And there was that forest creature lady that was like humping the air, and then she ended up having too many legs.
Yeah, that was pretty out there. But yeah, it looked weird. Looked cool though.
Blink and you would have missed it. Wolf Among Us 2 was announced.
Yep.
A Telltale series, but Telltale's gone. And I looked, and it's not Skybound making it, which is they purchased all the Telltale licenses. It's Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I caught that too.
Which makes sense, I guess, because DC owns Fables, which is what it was based on, right? So,
yeah.
But I was like, is it Skybound developing it? It looks like they're developing it with former Telltale developers that Warner has hired, which is cool. If that's the case, if Warner wants to have a lot of their DC properties made into these sorts of games, cool.
Yeah.
And that was probably about it when it comes to the announcements. Now, as far as games that won, luckily they were able to skim through a lot of the kind of dumb awards. Like, what was the one?
Best esports coach. I was like, what?
Best no, not just best esports coach, best tweet.
Yeah, that was kind of stupid. Although one thing I do have a problem with was, I can't remember who. I think it was the team that won Disco, or the award. One of the ones that Disco Elysium won. It was a very throwaway line, but they're like, Disco Elysium wins X, and they also won Best RPG, and I was like, wait, what?
Oh yeah, they showed strategy game as being quickly as Fire Emblem, which is cool. But yeah, they didn't even do the Best RPG of the year yet. As far as games that were highly praised this year, RPGs are probably the most represented this year. Like you had some very high end. Was it the Outer Worlds? You had a bunch of titles come out from Nintendo that were RPGs. Like there was a whole bunch, and they just didn't even mention it. Also, Disco Elysium, I had never even heard. Like
I heard about it because
we cover games, but we never
a lot on Twitter.
Yeah, but we had never heard about it. Like why was it not promoted? Like I feel like it won, but like nobody's heard of this game.
I don't think you're hanging out in the right circles, dude, because I've known about this game since like the spring.
No. Well, here's the thing, and then I looked up why. It was PC only so far. It's coming out to all consoles and everything next year. But the issue was it was basically indie, like not just indie made, but indie published. So it might not have had the range. This is going to be fantastic for it when it comes to getting picked up by a major distributor. So we're going to have to, like, I'm going to look into downloaded a trailer for it. So I'm going to check it out and see, what it's all about, because it won 4 different awards.
Yeah. And from what I can tell, like there are some games journalists I know that work for the Associated Press and a few other outlets, and they loved it. Ryan, who you often hear on GCRN and us sometimes, loved it. So, and if Ryan likes it, I'm pretty willing to believe that it's good. I'm
just surprised that like nobody I knew had suggested it, knowing the kind of games that I like. So I'm gonna be like, okay, now I got to check it out, because it won Best Narrative Game, which is surprising over Obsidian, because like Obsidian games, like they're known for being like BioWare, having their games have really good scripts. So it won Best Narrative, it won Best RPG, it won Best Indie Title of the Best Indie Title of the Year, and I forget what the last one was.
One thing that surprised me, I'm surprised House didn't win anything for Untitled Goose Game. That I totally expected
here's
to
the thing.
win.
Would you have then been complaining because of the Muppets having a whole segment with them?
No, I would argue House deserved the win because look at the media frenzy it created.
They probably should have
got people.
Yeah, they probably should have got best indie title, and then the other 3 titles could have gone to Disco Elysium.
However, that being said, if I had to say which is the objectively better game, Untitled Goose Game or Disco Elysium, I'd have to go Disco Elysium. So I'm kind of sad because Untitled Goose Game is in my top 3 games of the year, which we'll get to at the end of this. I was surprised Resident Evil 2 didn't win anything. I thought it deserved something because that's the way a remake should be done, and I think Final Fantasy VII remake is going to have a lot riding against it because
this coming year is going to be, when it comes to not just RPG but to things that are going to be contenders going head to head at all these award shows, it's going to be Final Fantasy VII and Cyberpunk head to head on almost everything. The biggest Eastern RPG versus the biggest Western.
Yeah, it's going to be, this year's going to be tough on a lot of fronts for gaming, which is good. I mean, I'm glad to see gaming really open itself up. I mean, it's going to be a fit. As a tank decides to roll by my house, we'll see just how things kind of go. I'm trying to think of other awards that kind of surprised me. Control winning, I'm okay with the way it went. There weren't a lot of fuck you awards. The only one I didn't like, and I disagree with totally, was Smash Brothers should not have won Best Fighting Game.
Correct. It
NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat 11 should have taken that.
It was. What are the other titles even nominated? I couldn't even remember.
There was Dead or Alive 6. Okay. What else was there? Nothing spectacular. I was actually honestly surprised Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. Now, that game sucks in a lot of ways, but I'm surprised it didn't get nominated because it's got a pretty big fan base behind it. You
know what it was? We didn't this year didn't have like the big title like the Dragon Ball.
Like a Tekken, or even a Tekken or a Street Fighter. I want to say Tekken was in there.
Did Dragon Ball win last year? It should have.
I don't remember.
It was that good. Well, and like this upcoming year, we've got a bunch of fighting games coming up, but it wasn't really a big year for fighters.
No, there wasn't a whole lot this year that caught my attention because this generation I've slept on a lot of fighters because I haven't had a fight stick. So that kind of limited my ability to play, which kind of sucks. And now maybe that I can buy a fight stick. I don't know whether I'm going to. But anyway.
Yeah, it's like you look at the other releases or the other awards, the best performance. I do like that they could have broken it down. People were like, oh, they should have done like best actor, best actress. No, it was best performance, which I liked.
Which is good. Although kind of weird how they picked, I think it was Laura Bailey for Gears of War 5. Okay, that's a little out there. That one coming.
I feel like some of it was, again, what did they have out there that was like there wasn't a whole
narrative-driven game.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot.
Weren't some of the Fire Emblem ones really good though?
They're good, but that's an ensemble cast where there's not one person. There were a lot of games like that where there's not one person that's the lead. The games that had lead actors that had lots of spoken dialogue or performance in it were all nominated. So like we're going to see more like this coming year. It's going to be Keanu Reeves probably wins. Like we already it's funny that we can already sort of tell who's going to win based on what's been announced so far in the upcoming year. This past year there wasn't really anything that stood out. The characters in Control, they were just okay, but there wasn't a whole lot of competition this year. Death Stranding kind of had to win. Like one or two of the people had to win, and Mads. It makes more sense. Mads is one of the best actors in the world.
I honestly expected Norman to win just because he was there.
Yeah, but I almost feel like I feel like it could have gone to either of them, and they
Yeah.
chose Mads because Mads might not do that many more games, and his
Yeah.
performance was more dynamic.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
And anything Death Stranding 1, I'm okay with. I'm not happy with, but I'm okay with it because that game did
Yeah.
accomplish a lot. I mean, Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions has done some important work, and the road to Death Stranding has been very weird and very rocky. And the fact that it even came out at all, I think, is an astounding testament to the power behind the Kojima name, if anything. And yeah, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah. Other things that they won, best community support was Destiny 2.
That surprised me because I have always had the impression that Destiny 2 is a dead game. But that being said, I know it has a wonderfully active subreddit. The community does support it, but I've always felt Rainbow Six and Ubisoft does a better job.
Yeah, you know why
because
this won? I'm a little jaded, but I think I know why it won. I think it won because that's they got that Google like money behind them, the Google money. It's because it just launched another platform, and they're now going to be supporting it more than ever. They ramped up support because of the Stadia. If you look at it, like the other nominees, Fortnite, it's like community support.
Fortnite never answers any of their fucking support tickets. Fuck
Exactly.
that.
Apex Legends is probably its closest.
They're pretty good. I mean,
Final
when
Fantasy
Apex
14,
tunes
they
something-
don't. Final Fantasy 14, it was there just to appease Square. Like nobody who even plays that anymore. Like
I know a couple people.
But you know what I mean? Like it's not on the same league as the rest of these.
I don't know about that, but
Like, it's nowhere near Fortnite, and it's nowhere near
nothing
Apex.
is.
Yeah. Now,
Although that being said, Apex is not as big as you think. Because if you look at the Twitch views, Apex views are nowhere near Fortnite.
Fair enough.
Because they did like a comparison this past summer, and Apex views are way down on Twitch as Fortnite stayed relatively consistent. Apex was a surprise because Respawn, in theory, was left alone to make that, and EA said, "Okay, just do whatever. Just don't burn the house down," and they didn't. It was a surprise. And then when they made Jedi Fallen Order last month, I think this is going to go a long way into EA giving Respawn a lot of respect going forward. But Apex is still going to go strong for a while, I hope. I hope that game still stays supported because they still make a lot of money off like the cosmetics. As far as I know, there's no stat-changing weapons or anything. It's all skins and shit. But I digress.
There was best score / music. It went to Death Stranding, which makes sense. That game is in many ways like a music simulator, because in the game, as you're walking across and doing things, the music dynamically plays, and the soundtrack is just super chill, but also makes you feel your surroundings. The other options the other nominees were Cadence of Hyrule, which is cool.
Yeah,
but
that would have been a solid pick.
A game that small probably won't win when you have these games that have like multi-million-dollar budgets to design their entire audio scheme. So, but it's cool that it got nominated. Devil May Cry 5. I only played a little bit of Devil May Cry because it was part of the Game Pass and I wanted to see how it played. But it was pretty cool from what I listened to. Sayonara Wild Hearts. I've heard many of our friends talk about how awesome that game is. I haven't played it. You're very unlikely to have an indie title win best score. It would have to be unbelievably fantastic. Its only real competition here for Death Stranding was Kingdom Hearts, because you had so many like franchise songs in there, but also the original songs were highly publicized, in like everything. Yeah. So I feel like Kingdom Hearts would have won best score had Death Stranding not had such a fantastic score. And then here are the other best fighting games. It was Samurai Showdown.
Which I'd heard good things about, but nothing spectacular.
Jump Force, which no.
What that didn't deserve to be on that list.
No. Dead or Alive 6, it's because there was literally nothing else. But it should not have been Smash. It should have been Mortal Kombat. I don't know why Mortal Kombat wasn't. Like, was Smash on there just because of sales purely?
Probably. Truthfully. I mean, and it's not that Smash isn't supported because they nerf and buff things all the time, so balance changes are constantly. The Smash community is huge and annoying, but and I don't know. I just think Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat a better game? No, but Smash has a lot. Smash has a wider appeal.
The problem with Smash is I've never been able to view it as a fighting game. It's an arena brawler, and if you wanted to have it up against Jump Force in an arena brawler category, sure. I just personally, my own personal views is that Smash is not a fighting game, but it's more like Power Stone. You know what I mean?
I can nuance it into a fighting game, but I'd have to write you a fucking essay and get really technical with it.
Like I feel like you remember Power Stone, right? It's that sort of It's just not in a 3D plane. It's a 2D plane 3D brawler, if that makes any sense. It's still fun. There's nothing. I'm not knocking it at all, but I feel like it's apples and oranges when you're comparing it to Mortal Kombat. Best audio design. This was probably the one that was the tightest. This had the most competition.
This one I'm a little upset about in some ways because as much as I like in Infinity Ward, COD should not have won it, and here's why.
Can I make just before my 2 cents? It should have either been Control or Resident Evil.
Resident Evil 2 would have been my pick because that game thrives on atmosphere. You need it. COD was cool in that all the weapons sound different. All the weapons have weight and energy, and that's cool and all, everything. But it's the little things. In multiplayer, for example, you can hunt using footsteps, which is great, which is cool. The problem is, even if you're walking, they sound like you're a goddamn dinosaur. And the community has been talking for weeks. Can you please nerf footstep audio, or at least make it more balanced? And in each patch, they say, it's been fixed. It's been fixed. Bullshit. If I can hear you coming halfway across the map, I'm probably going to pre-aim that door. And odds are you're probably coming through it. So fix your fucking game. That's a COD person bitching about COD. So I'm an 11-year-old here.
And like the other company, it was Death Stranding was in there. Death Stranding has good music and score. Death Stranding does not have, honestly, anything above average when it comes to audio design and atmosphere. Same goes for Sekiro. Same goes for Gears. And before you praise Resident Evil, Control, other than the atmosphere was fantastic. The game supports Dolby Atmos. If you have like a 20 speaker setup, it has positional audio for all of it. It probably one of the best aspects of that game was the feel as you played from the audio. So it should have been that, and it's very similar to Resident Evil when it comes to the game. What made the game was the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Resident Evil 2, that game is atmosphere. That game, when you can hear Mr. X wandering around a couple doors away from you, when you can hear zombies in the next room, when you can hear liquor drool hitting the floor, that game can and will scare the shit out of you. COD didn't do that. Like I said, COD made war immersive because it sounds pretty cool in my 5.1 setup. It makes battles a lot more fun, but it didn't scare me, whereas Resident Evil did.
Yeah, agreed. When I saw you playing and I was over at your place, I'm like, I was getting nervous just being a spectator.
What else? Very quickly, because
Content creator of the year. Pfft, who cares?
Honestly, I mean, who won that? Shroud or something?
Yeah, I have no clue who any of these people are.
Shroud's a guy who went to Mixer. He's a Fortnite streamer. And unless they're doing something huge, like there was that one girl, I think she is the deaf girl who's a Fortnite streamer, Ewok, I think her name was.
Yeah, her story, she should have won just based on her story.
Yeah, she's interesting. That's a content creator. That's something cool. Not some asshole who jumps ship. Like, yay, I'm on Mixer now. Fuck off.
She's an ambassador basically for the, like gamers and people that are in the disabled community in general. Like,
yeah,
she's not viewed as anything, like, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't make a big deal out of it. And I ended up doing a bit of a deep dive on her when they showed that sort of commercial they made, like showcasing her. After she didn't win, I'm like, what? Like, she didn't win, and like, I saw some people on Reddit saying, did they not give it to her because she couldn't give a proper speech? And I'm like, that's harsh, but it's a possibility.
I doubt that, because they would have brought somebody up there.
That's what I mean. Unless they, you know, it's like people were speculating, maybe they didn't get somebody to do that because there was no reason why they showcased her that hard and then not have her win.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, it seemed odd, but I mean, that could be people reading into it too much. But regardless, this will raise her profile for sure, being on the show.
I think the only guy who might have deserved it would be Jack Courage. Courage is a former COD World League commentator, and he's a pretty fun guy. He gets his community involved. He does some pretty interesting stuff, and I've always liked his streams. But content creator, I think he's a better guy than Shroud, because I've seen some of Shroud's clips here and there. I'm thinking, you're no different than fucking Ninja. Ninja's an asshole.
Yeah.
Fuck him. I'm so sick of hearing about that guy.
Yeah. Here goes quickly. Best action game was Devil May Cry, which makes sense. Which is actually good because, you know, if this makes Capcom go revisit their old titles and bring out new games in the franchises, great. It was up against Apex, Astral Chain, which probably gave it its best run for its money.
That would have been my pick. Would have been Astral Chain.
COD and Gears are shooters. Are they really action games?
Close enough, I guess, if you wanted to split hairs.
And Metro Exodus. So there were 3 shooters in this, or 4 shooters. It was Astral Chain, and from playing it, the reason I think Devil May Cry won, non-exclusive, which is a big factor because more people could play it. But the other thing was the game. I played it on the Xbox One X. It has like really, really high-end, like 4K visuals. I believe the engine is based on on the engine they're using for the Resident Evil stuff. But like, you know, whatever version of I think it's the Unreal Engine they're using or something. Whatever it is, it's super high end. It was buttery smooth and never drops below 60 frames per second, no matter how you play. And I was like, okay, so I get it. It's a buttery smooth experience. Astral Chain was a fantastic action game, but you would see dips occasionally in FPS, just because I guess there's only so much you can optimize on the Switch. Yeah. Games for Impact was Gris. I haven't played that myself. That
I don't
one.
know anything about it.
Yeah, Concrete Genie was. I did play that for review. That was pretty good. That's the one where you're spray painting things to you're basically spray painting things to bring the world back to life from being depressed and everything, which is pretty cool.
I'm actually very surprised Life is Strange 2 didn't win.
Yeah, I think it didn't get the same level of praise that the first game got. Sea of Solitude didn't know. Now, Kind Words, I believe that was the competition. That's the one where you're writing letters to people.
That one sounded kind of neat.
Like, and you're writing letters to real life people, and it's just like nice letters. I'm like, cool. But Gris, I didn't play that. These were the ones that we were probably the most not on top of as far as knowing what they were.
It's very, very out of our element.
Which means now, again, this is good though, because it means this has given us pause to look and go, maybe we should check these out. The best family game went to Luigi's Mansion 3. Bullshit. I'll be honest.
What were the other ones?
Ring Fit Adventure. It was the Nintendo category. Super Mario Maker 2, Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Yoshi's Crafted World. Yoshi's Crafted World is a better game than Luigi's Mansion 3.
I disagree with that completely. I think it should have went to Luigi. I think is a very solid pick, or Smash Brothers.
Smash should have won this and then not won the fighting game.
I don't know. Luigi's Mansion was really good. I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the best. It's definitely the top 3 Nintendo games that have been put out this year.
It's good, but I felt that Crafted World, as far as a pure family game, Yoshi's Crafted World was charming as hell. I almost feel like it won based on its newer. Like sometimes I feel like some of these games are winning because they came out second half of the year and they're fresh in the voters' minds. Or on the people that are at, I guess, their voting council.
Maybe, but Luigi's Mansion was really good, and it's a solid 17 to 20-hour game.
Absolutely. Best sports racing was Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. It was up against Dirt Rally.
Horseshit.
Yeah.
Dirt should have won this.
Yeah, it was going to say, because the other competition it was literally 3 soccer games. Or, no, sorry, 2 soccer games and F1 racing, and I'm sorry, F1 racing is not high end. Like Codemasters made both F1 and Dirt, but Dirt is their premier title.
Yeah, like I'm honestly, Crash Team Racing was okay in its launch month, and then they put microtransactions in, and then it got stupid. So yeah, fuck that.
Best mobile game was Call of Duty Mobile. We don't really care. The other games on here, What the Golf, Sky, Children of Light, Sayonara Wild Hearts. It probably should have been Sayonara, but this was best mobile game. It may as well be called best Chinese government approved game because it's basically it's for the Chinese market. All these games basically.
Call of Duty Mobile makes a stupid amount of money, and although that being said, it's not a bad game.
No,
Of
absolutely.
itself.
It's just I'm willing to bet that 90% of the gameplay on that and people playing it are over in China. Because that's what it was made for.
And it's pay to win. Like, you want the best gun, you got to pay for it.
Yeah. Best multiplayer game, Apex.
That's what was its competition?
Borderlands 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Tetris 99, and Division 2. Its biggest competition would have been
the
COD.
Division had no. Yeah, the Division had no business being on this list,
which is unfortunate because, again, when we reviewed it, the first Division was fantastic and had a great community. Division 2, balance issues.
I'd like to know what the player count is on that game now.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like we enjoyed our time with it, but it's not nearly as good as the first game. Tetris 99, really?
Okay,
best multiplayer. I guess it's fun. Borderlands. Did we even? No, we didn't play that, did we? Did you end up getting it?
I asked for no, and I asked multiple times for it.
And that's usually is a sign of something. Again, do you know anybody that's even playing it or talking about it?
Yes, I know at least 5-6 people.
Okay,
but I don't know anybody who's playing it now.
Do you know anybody? This is not a like I know a few people. I have friends that played it, and I said, so how is it? They're like, well, we're back to playing 2. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
They beat it in September when the game came out, and they haven't talked about it much past October. Yeah, COD and Apex, good picks. Apex, because it's a battle royale. It's the battle royale game that succeeded where it shouldn't have. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment. COD is good. It's got some problems with its community. Infinity Ward does its best to keep up to address them, but it just has enough problems with it, whereas Apex, I'm not saying it's a fresh game every single round, but there's enough to keep it engaging and exciting. Plus, it's got a wonderful support from its streaming community, either on Mixer or on Twitch. So, okay, that's a pretty solid win. I'm totally fine with this.
Exactly. Best ongoing, Fortnite. That's no question. Don't even need to mention the other competition because it's the biggest ongoing game.
Honestly, I think Apex deserved some notice in this category.
It was in there, yeah.
But Fortnite will win ongoing simply because it did Season 2 this year, and it does have its store keep swapping things out. They also did that big concert this year. I think it was this year with like Marshmello.
Yep,
So,
they did that. They did that black hole thing, and then this upcoming weekend they're doing the Star Wars.
Star
like
Wars.
they are smart in that it's not just ongoing, as in like here's new seasons. They're actually so big that they're getting special events that are crossed over with major mainstream
Marvel,
media.
Star Wars,
Like
concerts.
and none of that. Like there's no other title that if you watch a TV show, and they'll show kids playing it, they get product placement in regular TV shows.
The only one that did was PlayerUnknown's Battleground. There was a Walking Dead crossover, and that's all I know. Like you got to play as Daryl. Okay, neat.
Cool.
Although I don't know anybody who's even talking about
No.
Unknown. It's always Fortnite or something.
And then it's because they announced that there's that prologue game that they're making, so which is cool. But best VR game.
Who gives a shit?
This is a category that honestly is going to matter in the next 2 to 3 years. Probably, it really doesn't matter. Like the market is so small; it's like 1% of gamers even play because you either have to spend $1,000 on top of having $1,000 computer to make it run, or you have to have the PlayStation VR system, which isn't nearly the same quality as Oculus. So I think until next gen, it's not going to be as huge. But Beat Saber won, and I've heard good things about it. I also heard good things about Blood and Truth, which was the PSVR game.
I'm actually very surprised Star Wars Vader Immortal didn't get nominated here.
Yeah,
that was the Star Wars VR game. So
all
right, whatever.
Player's Voice, which was basically that was the Player's Choice Award, went to Fire Emblem Three Houses. Surprising win.
Solid pick. Good pick.
And its competition was good too. It was Death Stranding, which would have been a little bit, I guess,
a little bit weird,
divisive. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Smash.
I'm surprised Smash didn't win, but the fact that it went to Fire Emblem means the internet is not stupid.
Well, here was the thing: the Player's Voice Award. They had there was a whole bunch of games you could pick from, and then they basically put up the top 4 numbers on here, and then the number 1 was Fire Emblem. So this was a case of, it wasn't like, oh, I don't like any of these other ones, I'm going to pick this. There were more choices. It just got the most votes. Fresh indie game. That was the Disco Elysium. That's the one that we didn't know what it was. Yeah. Best role playing was Disco Elysium, and its competition was Final Fantasy XIV. How can a game that is an MMO be listed every single year in there and it doesn't win? Like it feels like they always put Final Fantasy XIV in just to fill a slot because it's I
don't know. I've heard good things about it from
it's a
people
good game, but it's never going to win against a high end new game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 3, good competition. Monster Hunter World Iceborne, that's an expansion. What the big surprise was Disco Elysium winning against the Outer Worlds, because there's been nothing but praise for that.
Yeah.
Best independent game was Disco Elysium. It should have probably been Goose Game, because there were 2 indie titles, or 2 indie categories, and Disco Elysium won both. Best game direction went to Death Stranding. That's a no-brainer. Like,
yeah,
there's
Hideo, whatever.
It's a no-brainer. Like, you may not like the game, but you have to respect the vision. If you know, I would. That's the best way I can put it. Best action adventure game was Sekiro.
That I don't have a problem with.
Me neither. It was either going to be that or Resident Evil 2. Is that an action adventure game?
Yeah. I mean, Sekiro did something. It made a From Software game feel different.
Yeah,
and
like
that's
it's
something it accomplished.
Death Stranding, it's not really an action game. An adventure, maybe. No. Borderlands really shouldn't have been there. It's not an adventure game. Zelda Link's Awakening is cool, but it's a remake. Its only real competition was Control. But Sekiro, there was, people kept talking about it. Esport Award went to League of Legends. Cool.
No, I'm not surprised.
I don't watch, but I know of it. I know all the games in this. Like it was Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which I'm surprised the Counter-Strike's still in there. Fortnite, Dota 2, which I've never played. Like I've never played Dota 2 or League of Legends, but I know of them and I've seen them, and I've watched people play them. Overwatch was the other one in there. Best esports coach, I laugh at. Wait, a guy who it's like it's not even like we've had discussions about sports. It's like, so wait, this guy doesn't even play the game?
Well, I don't know. This is a category, unless you're deep into the scene, I don't know why we're even... It deserves to be acknowledged, but I don't know how you do it properly.
Well, why don't you just say... Why don't you just say, like, shouldn't it have just been best esports? Like, they have best esports team. Like, best esports coach. How is that even categorized? Shouldn't the team award be accepted by the coach?
It should be player and then team. Coach is a little weird, but okay.
Best esports event was the League of Legends World Championship. You would know this better than me if it was better than Overwatch or Evo or Fortnite or whatever the IEM Katowice or the International was.
I'm surprised Fortnite didn't win, although Evo would have been my second pick.
Like out of these,
COD World League has changed so much that it's a good event to watch, but I don't know if it's a good event to attend. And now that COD World League is splintered into it's different territories now.
Well, it wasn't even.
Maybe that'll change this year.
It wasn't even nominated.
Yeah, that's a little strange.
Now, the only ones that like I had heard of League of Legends and all championships, Evo is the only one I've ever seen.
Yeah, Evo's one I try and make it a point to watch.
You're actually the reason I saw it because I remember you used to talk about it on the podcast a lot. Best esports host, it was Jacques SJOKZ. That's the guy that won. FG Jacques Deporter.
I only know people who come from the COD scene. So
the other nominees were the other nominees were Paul Redeye Channeler, Duan Candice Yu Shuang, Alex Machine Richardson, and Alex Golden Boy Mendez. I only know Golden Boy because not only was he there doing a Samsung commercial, but Golden Boy is one of the color commentators that regularly is on All Elite Wrestling. He did 2 or 3 of the pay-per-views over the past summer as one of the color commentators. And
That's
from
cool.
what I heard, and he also does, I think, a little boxing and stuff. Really good, like legitimately a really good color commentator. So I wasn't surprised that he was nominated, and I only wanted him to win because I like him when he does wrestling commentary. But I can see how, like, if anybody else, if the other people are as good as him or better, I can, esports as being a host, it's got to be hard to get people hyped if you're not playing. So kudos to everybody that was nominated there. And then best esports team was G2 Esports for League of Legends.
I'm not surprised. I mean, again, League of Legends is surprisingly huge. It's out of my sphere of influence. I thought maybe the Overwatch guys stood a chance this year, but League of Legends is a juggernaut. So what are you gonna do?
Best esports player was Kyle Bugha Giersdorf,
the guy that won $1 million for Fortnite,
which is insane.
And he got swatted. So
yeah, that's terrible. Good, he won it. And then the last major thing was Game of the Year, which was Sekiro.
I'm okay with Sekiro winning. I mean, my personal Game of the Year was Resident Evil 2. But Sekiro, like I said, it made a From Software game feel different. It brought conversation into the mainstream about accessibility in games. And this is a debate that's going to go in circles for fucking years.
Before we go into that, like Outer Worlds, cool. That's a valid thing. Smash Brothers, cool. That's valid. Res 2, I think is valid, but may not have really been able to go over the top because it is a remake. Death Stranding shouldn't have won Game of the Year based on it being
so close,
divisive, and divisive in the fan base. Either you loved it or you hated it. Sekiro was more universally praised. Control had the potential to be Game of the Year, but was bogged down by too many bugs and issues at the beginning. Like it really shows, like, you have to land these games on day one. With Sekiro, I last night I got into a heated debate with some people on it because is an entire community decrying it, saying supporting this game for Game of the Year is like saying that you should not have accessible games for disabled people. And I'm like, where are you coming from with this? Because the game is hard in difficulty, because the design of the game and the art is to be a challenging skill-based game. You're saying that it shouldn't win?
There were some arguments I saw saying, but I have difficulty processing quick reactions, and I don't even know what's happening until I'm hit. But
then you know what? Then you don't play. Like, yeah, it's not all. If it's a case of the buttons, there's too many buttons being pressed on a controller at once. It's not intuitive. The flow doesn't work. I would like it to have the ability to accommodate, different size hands, or the controller, or I can't read the text on the screen. It's way too small. Those are valid issues when it's things like that. That's an accessibility issue. The difficulty of a game is not. If 90% of the world can play the game just fine and loves it and praises it, and you're part of a group that doesn't, that's not the game's fault. They try to go for the widest audience possible without compromising their artistic vision. And that's what I was arguing with people. I'm like, it's not that the game is anti any group. It's that you're looking to create problems where there aren't problems. This isn't a game that says they're not going, we don't want X group to be able to play this, so we're going to make it impossible for them to play. It's not that. These are things that we never complained about in the past. You can make adaptive devices to play a game, and it's like, oh, it should be easier. If you want to make an easier mode, sure, they can do that. But if they choose not to, they choose not to.
Yeah, you don't tell the artist what they can and can't create.
That would be like going to you go to a movie. It's like, I like horror movies, but I don't like when they're too scary. So you're not making this movie accessible enough to me.
Yeah, this conversation, there has to be a middle ground somewhere.
Literally, you know what it is? I like Stephen King movies, but the It Clown was too scary. You made it so that it's not accessible for me to watch. Like that's the argument being made with this, and the problem is it gets people riled up, and it's like support. Like the biggest one was supporting this game. I hate the precedent this makes for supporting this game as Game of the Year, because it sets back accessibility for gamers. What do you mean sets back anything? If you can't play it because it's too difficult, that's on you. And if you can't, and if you just,
when did skill become such an ugly word?
And then on top of that, it's like it's like, oh, I can't play it. It's like, then you can't play it. Oh, well, I want to play it. Okay, then play what's there. Oh no, it's too difficult. Okay, well then watch somebody play it. If you want to just experience beating the game or watching the end of the game, you want to see the story, fine, then you can watch a playthrough or have somebody play it with you, or go through the end as much as you can. And making the game easier, in quotes, is not going to raise your enjoyment of the game. It's likely going to lower the enjoyment of 95% of everybody else that played it, because they chose this game for that purpose, because that's the artistic direction they went with. Not every piece of art is going to be for every person.
Absolutely. I completely side with the artist.
And I would say that in this case, this is not me going like, oh, you're shaming my disability. You're doing this. No. For example, I have mobility-based disability myself. I am also over 250 pounds. I cannot use the Wii balance board. I never could. It was not built for me. Do I go and cry and make a stink to Nintendo? You have not made your balance board accessible to me, and by such you are excluding disabled people and people in wheelchairs, for instance, from using the balance board. That would literally be like you saying, I can't use your balance board. You didn't make it accessible for me in my wheelchair.
Yeah,
and
I'll
then
find something else. It's the free market.
Exactly. Would it be nice if they made a balance board that, I don't know, was twice as wide for people that need a wider gate to stand on it, and was supported up to 1,000 pounds. Yes, it would be great. Is it
But
feasible?
it's not happening.
No, that's not a case of compromising their artistic vision. That's the reality of, we make the game and we make the product to the widest audience possible without it being insanely cost prohibitive, or to only cater to 1% of people that might, not 1%, in this case, maybe 10% of people couldn't use the balance board that wanted to use it. But you know what you do then? You move on to something else, and then somebody else in the market will make a game that you can use. Oh, you have trouble dancing, in rhythm, with a rhythm-based game. Okay, you can't play that game. Well, guess what? Then Just Dance or somebody else comes out with an option where you can use a cell phone instead of the Kinect. That's
how I play.
So that you can use it while sitting, but you can still get exercise with your arms. You know what? The market will dictate that, and they'll move it. It's like, oh, I can't play this one game, so I'm going to throw a fit, when you can just go try something else that will work for you. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't give your input to them. Say, hey, it would be great if you could do this. But to decry them and say you're all horrible people, or it's a horrible precedent to support it, is incredibly wrong. And I'll fight that to the bitter end. And surprisingly, my online escapades didn't result in me getting lambasted. I actually had a few people praising it, what I was saying, because I was being honest. Like, you should not be doing that at all. You should not
Agreed.
be that close-minded towards it.
Mm-hmm. So that pretty much wraps, or I guess before we wrap things up, I mean, my top 3 games of the year, before we talk about this in a few weeks, we'll talk about the year in gaming as a whole. My top 3 games of the year are Resident Evil 2, that's my number 1. Untitled Goose Game, because it was an unexpected piece of joy, although I suck at it. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Those are my top 3. What about you?
Top 3 for the year?
Because we played a lot this year.
I played a lot. Fire Emblem Three Houses is on there. I don't know any particular order. Fire Emblem, I would say, because Judgment from Sega.
In Trails of Cold Steel, maybe?
Yeah, those, and it's not just the JRPG. Like, there are a lot of really, really good games that I played this year, like really high end. But the ones that I probably had the most enjoyment with were those. And in other years, it's not always just been RPGs. If I had to squeeze one in there that's not, I really liked Yoshi's Crafted World.
I'd also give Gears of War 5 and Luigi's Mansion an honorable mentions, because I did have fun with them.
Yeah.
And I spent significant time with them too. So
if I did a top 5, I'd also include, those are my, like, I would say Yoshi's Crafted World. If I had to include one more to make it a top 5, it would be Kingdom Hearts. But I think this coming year is going to have more titles that are going to be harder to decide on.
Yeah, this year's going to be insane, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, that's our thoughts on State of Play, Indie, Game Awards, and other thoughts. So as always, we do welcome you to give your feedback to the show. So feedback at ThisWeekInGeek.net, or find us on Twitter at ThisWeekInGeek. We will have a Christmas commentary for Christmas Day, so look forward to the fun adventures of John McClane and friends coming out on Christmas. We'll also have our year-end in gaming, where we do a final prototype, just kind of talking about what we played this year, maybe 1 or 2 reviews in that show as well, because I'm playing through Mech Warrior and Battletech. I know I'm playing the same game, different games. It's weird. So we'll talk about that. Alex has a few more Turd or Treasures, and then we're taking a break, because I love you people, but please leave me alone for like a month.
And depending on how this works, we're probably going to be talking about the Crisis on Infinite Earths massive CW crossover in conjunction with the GCRN that I'm assuming is in a week or so. It's all going to depend
Is
on how
that
things
when it
line
wraps up?
No, we're doing we're doing a 2-parter. We're going to do because it's being done in 2 parts. So there's Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is Crisis on Infinite Podcasts, or Crisis on 2 podcasts.
Okay, I like it. All right, so anyway, guys, until next time, we have been
Alex.
I've been Mike the Birdman Dodson. Live free or die hard. And until next time, as my friend Jackie Bam Bam might say, be cool, be kind, be careful. We'll catch you next time, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Well, that's our show.
All right, here's the deal. Every time you watch my show, I will send you $40.
Checks will not be honored.
You've been listening to This Week in Geek, your source for guaranteed nonsense or your money back. Tune in next week for more info on the most important things you didn't need to know. Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net and subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or any podcatcher. If you'd like to comment on this episode, head over to this episode's post at ThisWeekInGeek.net and leave a comment through Facebook Connect. Follow us on Twitter at ThisWeekInGeek.net and follow our Instagram at twig_official_podcast. Social media not your thing? Send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. We'll see you next time, and remember,
Lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens.
What?
It ends.
I have to go. Somewhere there is a crime happening.
It's spooky.